Good morning. Today we're going to start talking about properties of chords. This is a lesson that I will cover today as well as Wednesday, so I'm going to kind of split it into two just so it doesn't take too much of your time. Before we talk about properties of chords, I just want to review quickly what a chord actually is. So the definition of a chord is here in green. This is something we were able to talk about actually together before all of this craziness. So a chord is a segment whose endpoints are on a circle. Okay, so remember we have a circle and then any segment, let's pretend that's straight. We can see the endpoints of that segment are on that circle. So that is a chord. It could go right through the center. Oh, wow, that was awful. It could go right through the center. Then it would be a diameter, which we also review here. But any segment whose endpoints lie on the circle is a chord. So any single chord divides a circle into two arcs. So this first chord here that we could see we have one arc here. That would be a minor arc because it is less than 180. And then the other arc is on the left there, which would be a major arc because it is greater than 180. If it is a diameter, saying it's going right through the center here, again, just pretend that's straight, then it divides into two semicircles. We'd have a semicircle here, so it'd be exactly 180. A semicircle here, so it'd be exactly 180. So again, anything other than a diameter will divide the circle into a minor arc and a major arc. Now that we have reviewed some of the definitions of a chord, let's move on and talk about a property. So the first property I want to talk about is theorem 10.3. That says in the same circle or in congruent circles, two minor arcs are congruent if and only if their corresponding chords are congruent. So we can see in this diagram that we have a chord EF, endpoints lie on circle O, and we have a chord AB whose endpoints lie on circle O. So we can see that chord EF does make an arc EF right here, and chord AB makes arc AB here. We can also see the tick marks on EF. So because we have tick marks on EF, we also have tick marks on AB. So those tick marks, remember, mean they are congruent. So because segment EF is congruent to segment AB, because that is true, then we can say that arc EF is congruent to arc AB. Okay? So if the chords are congruent, the arcs formed by them are also going to be congruent. So looking at an example here, if we look at example 1, it says in the diagram, circle P is congruent to circle Q, which we can see because the radii are marked congruent. We're also told that FG is congruent to JK. These guys are chords. Okay, so we can see these chords here are congruent to each other again because of the tick marks. And then we're told that the measure of arc JK is 80 degrees, which is right here in this diagram. After all that given information, we are asked to find the measure of arc FG. So because we know that FG is congruent to JK, segment FG is congruent to segment JK, we know that arc FG must also be congruent to arc JK. So because the measure of arc JK is 80 degrees, the measure of arc FG will also need to be 80 degrees. And again, that is because the chords are congruent. Looking at example 2 here, it says use the diagram of circle D. So we can see it's circle D because the center is marked with capital letter D. The first part says if the measure of arc AB is 110, so I'm going to mark that on my diagram right here. I know that AB is 110 degrees. Find the measure of arc BC. So we're trying to find this right here. I do not know that right away. Well, if you look at the diagram, you notice that you have chord AB, which is marked 9, and you have chord BC, which is also marked 9. So because segment AB is congruent to segment BC, we know that arc AB must be congruent to arc BC. So the measure of arc BC should also be 110 degrees. For example B, if same kind of idea, we know that measure of arc AC is 150. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. That is a 5. And now we're trying to find the measure of arc AB. So a little bit different setup. What I'm trying to find is this right here. I do not know anything about the measure of arc AB, other than it has to be congruent to arc BC, because chord AB and chord BC are congruent. So these arcs have to be the same. So I'm trying to find this. I'm going to mark that X. Because I know that has to match BC, I'm also going to mark that X. Now hopefully we remember that an entire circle is 360 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract out the one piece I do know, which is arc AC. So I know that the rest of the circle is 210 degrees. Well, the rest of the circle is evenly split between arc AB and arc BC, because we know they have to be congruent. So then I'm going to divide that by 2, which means arc AB and arc BC are each going to be 105 degrees. All right, so we're going to kind of use a little bit of vocab today. So theorem 10.4 says if one chord is a perpendicular, remember upside down T is perpendicular, bisector, remember that just means cuts exactly in half, of another chord, then the first chord is a diameter. So remember, a diameter cuts right through the center of a circle. So in this diagram here, we can see that JK is bisecting LM by the tick marks, and it's also perpendicular to LM because of the little box. So that means JK is a diameter. Theorem 10.5 says if a diameter of a circle is blank to a chord, then the diameter blank the chord and an arc. So this is if a diameter of a circle is perpendicular to a chord, then the diameter is going to bisect the chord and its arc. Okay, so in this diagram, because we can see this is a diameter, because we can see this is a diameter because it's going through the center of the circle. You can see the center right here. That means that GH has to be congruent to HI, and it also means that IP has to be congruent to PG. So we can use this to do a couple examples. So example 3 says, use the diagram of circle, that should say circle E. I apologize for that typo. It should be circle E, to find the length of AC. So we can see that BD is the diameter, goes right through the center of the circle. We can also see that it is perpendicular, which means it's cutting AC completely in half. So if AF is 7, then AC must also be 7. In example 4, they want you to find the measures of the arcs. So in example 4, again, we can see that BD is the diameter, and it is perpendicular to CE. So because of that, we know that the corresponding arcs that are formed must also be congruent. So I'm going to set 9x equal to 80 minus x, and I'm just going to solve this equation. So x equals 8. Now I'm going to use that information to help me find the measures of the indicated arcs. So the first arc they are asking about is arc CD, which is 9x. Well, I know x is 8, so I know CD is going to be 72 degrees. The second arc they're asking for is DE, which is 80 minus x. Again, I know x is 8, so I'm going to plug that in. 80 minus 8 is 72 degrees, which tells me I did it correctly because that would have to match the measure of arc CD, which it does. Lastly, they're asking for arc CE. So remember, we have that arc addition postulate, so I'm just going to add these two arcs together because they are adjacent arcs that form arc CE. And if I do 72 plus 72, I'm going to get 144 degrees for arc CE. Theorem 10.6 says, in the same circle or in congruent circles, two chords are congruent if and only if they're equidistant from the center. So remember, equidistant literally means of equal distance. So in this diagram here, we see that we have right angles here and here because the shortest distance is always the perpendicular distance. So if these distances are equal, EG and EF are congruent, if that happens, then we can say that BC is congruent to AD. Okay, so when the chords are equidistant from the center, then they are congruent. The chords are congruent. So using that example here, in example 5, it says, in the diagram of circle C, QR equals ST equals 16. So that is marked here for you in your diagram. So because these chords are equal, we can then say they are the same distance from the center. Remember, an if and only if statement, like we have in Theorem 10.6, can be the conditional and the converse that works both ways. So all we need to do is we need to set up this equation. Because chord QR is congruent to chord ST, we know they're equidistant from the center. So we just take those two distances and set them equal, and then just solve that equation. So we know that X is 3, but be careful. It doesn't just ask for X, it asks for CU. Remember, CU without the symbol means they want the actual distance. So I'm going to take my X value and I'm going to plug that in. So CU was 2X, but I found that X was 3. So that tells me that CU is 6 units. In example 6, it says, suppose ST is 32, which again it tells you, and CU is equal to CV, which is equal to 12, which it also gives you here. And then they want you to find the given length. So the first length they're asking for is QR, which is right here. Because we know that CU and CV are congruent, it means they are equidistant from the center, the two chords have to be the same length. So QR would also have to be 32 because ST was 32. And then if we're trying to find QU, we just cut that in half. QU is half the distance of QR, again, because it's perpendicular. So QU would just be 16 because 32 divided by 2 is 16. In example 7, it says use the diagram of circle C to find the length of BF. So we are perpendicular here. So I know that BF has to be 10 because this distance here is 10. So you can't read that at all. Sorry. BF, I'll just write it over here, is also going to be 10. In example 8, we've got circle P. PV is equal to PW, which we can tell by these tick marks right here. And we're told that QR, which is a chord, is 2x plus 6. And we are told that ST, which is the other chord, is 3x minus 1. Now, because they are equidistant from the center, we can just set them equal to each other. And solve, so we get x is 7. But again, they don't just want that, they want QR, so I'm going to take that and plug that back in to QR. And we will get that QR equals 20. All right, example 9 says in circle R, AB is congruent to CD. Again, that is marked on there for us. And they're telling us that the measure of AB is 108 degrees, and they want you to find the measure of arc CD. So this one is a throwback from yesterday. Remember, if the chords are congruent, then the arcs that they form are also congruent. So arc CD, measure of arc CD would also have to equal 108. All right. Lastly,